Since the 1700s, Europeans have been coming to the Americas en masse. That's starting to slow down. Why, you ask? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. I ran a survey asking foreigners to the US, would they want to live in the United States? If they said no, there was a follow-up question of why. I listed 50 different things that are most commonly talked about as negatives to the United States. And before you do, stop typing. Every country, every state, every small town, every village, every neighborhood has some negatives. Nothing's perfect. So this video is based on their responses. Now about the survey, I had a few answers from Africa and not many from Asia. Europe and South America gave the only decent amount of replies. Europe gave about 2,700 replies and South America gave a little over 2,100 replies. I got about 400 from Central America. So today we're looking at the European results to find out why Europeans won't move to the United States. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, racial tensions. Yeah, we've always had racial tensions, and really every country on the planet has racial tensions. The difference is we have ours on blast in the media every single day. Each political faction in the United States blaming the other faction for it. But the US has a complex history of racial tensions and inequality, perceived differently by Europeans who may not fully understand the social dynamics and historical context that we have here in the United States. Now, this can contribute to their concerns about discrimination and social cohesion. Side note, cohesion is one of my favorite words. One man named Gerald from Suffolk, which is in England, said he lived in Virginia for 2 years for a job. His wife is a very dark-skinned Indian, and he said she was treated very poorly. Actually, his exact phrase was, like a poor chimney sweep. Not totally sure what that is. Racial tensions got 111 votes. Number 9, access to public transportation. Now, it's no secret that Europe has a much better public transportation system than here in the US. We've made great strides over the last couple decades, but we still lag far behind Europe, and this seems to bother them quite a bit. They aren't as obsessed with driving and owning a car as we are here in the United States. The United States is a car culture. They do make some amazing automobiles in Europe, they're just not on board with it as much as we are. But European cities often have well-developed public transportation system, making car ownership optional for many residents, where we basically rely on it. There are a few cities in the United States where they have decent public transportation, and you could pretty much live there without owning a car. New York City's a perfect example. Portland is pretty good in that respect. Same thing with Chicago. Seattle has a solid public transportation system. One man said Ireland's public transportation is better than the United States, and Ireland's is shit. Access to public transportation got 112 votes. Number 8, the IRS. Yeah, believe it or not, the IRS was a big complaint by foreigners, and they had a lot to say about it. This one, I think, got the most comments out of all of them. Obviously, it didn't get the most votes. Here it is at number 8 instead of number 1, but the comments were definitely against the IRS and our tax system. A lot of the countries said that they don't have to file taxes. It's taken out of their checks automatically, and there's no, tax day in their country. But a lot of them mentioned how much paperwork there was, and it was mind-blowing. One person said, and I kind of looked it up, and I found some facts about it, or just some things to support it, but it said the IRS is so much of a pain that American citizens are often denied banking facilities in Asia. Now, don't hold me to that. That's just what one person said. I saw a couple things online about it. I don't know much about that one, but I thought that was strange. If anyone has more information on it, let me know in the comment section below. I mean, everyone in the United States hates the IRS, but now Europeans are hating it too. One man said, I haven't been to the US in 15 years. When I think about the 3 times I had to fill out tax forms, he called it the Americas, he said I get pissed. Taxes in the IRS got 127 votes. Number 7, work-life balance. I also put free time on there because a lot of people don't understand it as work-life balance in other countries. They call it their free time or their vacation time, different things like that. Anyway, many European countries prioritize work-life balance with shorter work hours, generous vacation time, and strong labor protections. In contrast, the United States is known for longer work hours, fewer vacation days, and a culture that often prioritizes work over personal time. And that's true to a degree. I mean, all of us know that we have a pretty really crappy work-life balance here in the United States. Now, there are other countries, especially in Asia, that are far worse than us here in the US, but they're comparing Europe to the United States, not Asia. So that's where a lot of these responses came from. One man said, "My wife made us come back to Switzerland because she said she started to forget what I look like." One lady, I'm assuming she was a lady, but she said, "One week I saw the Uber Eats guy more than my boyfriend. So we came back to London." Work-life balance or free time got 130 votes. Number 6, the healthcare system. It's pretty bad that used car lots have a better reputation than the healthcare system here in the United States. Everybody knows if you go to a hospital or you have a doctor's appointment, you're gonna get ripped off. At a used car lot, 50-50 chance you're getting ripped off. One man said while living in Miami, he was playing a soccer game, or football, he said, and he blew out his knee. He could walk, but it needed to be operated on. And he said it was far cheaper to fly back to the UK, rent an Airbnb, get surgery, recover for 3 days in an Airbnb, and fly back to the US. On a personal note, not in the survey, but I knew a girl that she was a San Diego sheriff. I went to school with her. She's retired now, but her father was older. He was actually a Los Angeles County sheriff. His medication as he got older was so expensive, she actually sold their house down there and she quit her job and moved up to Washington so she could go across the border into Canada and get his medication for 1/10 the price. I had a long conversation with her about it. It was sad. This was a handful of years back when it was next to impossible to have your medication sent from Canada to here in the United States. This one, though, should be no surprise to any American. We all know that our healthcare system is crazy expensive and complicated. It's good and you get good results, but it's too expensive for most Americans to actually afford. And the Europeans know this, and it kind of stops a lot of them from coming here. In 2022, they did a study where they figured out the per capita healthcare expenditure by developed countries. Down towards the bottom, you had Mexico with about $1,100 a year, Brazil, $1,500 a year. You get up to Poland, it's about $2,900 a year. Spain was $4,400 a year. Korea is about $4,500 a year. UK is about $5,400 a year. Denmark, you get all the way up into $6,270 a year. Australia's $6,596. Switzerland is $8,000. The US is the absolute most expensive, $12,555. That's per capita healthcare expenditure. A lot of the countries well below us have better results than we do here in the United States when it comes to our healthcare. Healthcare got 132 votes. Number 5, education costs. Yeah, a lot of countries in Europe, the education's really inexpensive when you compare it to the United States. Now, if you just look at public colleges, it's about $8,000 here in the United States on average. If you include the private colleges, it gets up to about $14,000. The United Kingdom is really close to what we got going on in the United States as far as cost goes. But other developed countries, it's a different story. Take a look at Japan, $5,228 a year. Canada's a little bit lower than that with $4,900 a year. You go to Australia, $4,700 a year. The Netherlands is $2,400 a year. Switzerland, $1,100 a year. France, $217. Germany, it's all free. No tuition. That's not even counting like your housing and all that stuff. One guy from Poland said he'd looked into coming to the United States, but it was far too expensive. I think he should have come to the United States because he had like 5 misspelled words. I don't know what's going on in the Poland school system, but never has 2 E's in it. 140 people voted for education cost. Number 4, political climate. Yes, it's not just a nightmare here in the United States. Our political climate is known throughout the world as a total mess right now. We have Americans at each other's throats over politics, which should not be a thing. Each side of the political spectrum, the politicians are convincing their people that the other side is trying to destroy the country. We've always had a little friction between the parties when it comes to politics here in the United States, but nothing like what's going on to this day. It's actually ridiculous. I don't care what political party you're from, watch the news and you'll notice, like, let's say the same congressman, a handful of congressmen will get on media outlet, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a radio show, whether it's a cable news channel, or make a YouTube video. They have like the phrase of the week, and they use it, and they say it over and over and over till you start saying it. And it's both parties. Both parties will do this. And it creates friction because basically they're telling you what to think. When they're all saying it at the same time, you start to take it as fact. And it's just something they do. They get together and they come up with the phrase of the week. And like I said, both parties do it. No one's immune. Watch, next time there's some kind of issue with the other party, whichever, one you follow, and all of a sudden the other party has an issue, you'll see the politicians from whatever side you're on say the same thing over and over and over for about a week or two. But the perceived political polarization and instability in the US, especially in recent years, may make Europeans wary of moving to a country with a political tension as high as we have here in the United States. The parties are so different from each other now, policies can fluctuate dramatically with the change of an administration. That scares a lot of people, especially if you're not from here and you realize it's just all a bunch of talk for the most part. Political climate got 144 votes. Number 3, immigration policies. Now, this one's going to seem a little strange, especially what we hear on the news these days about people just flooding in across the southern border and all that stuff. But this is more to do with the process of people trying to get in here legally. Changes in immigration policies, such as restrictions on visa programs and pathways to citizenships, may create uncertainty and make it more difficult for Europeans to navigate the immigration process. The amount of paperwork that's involved in this is insane. Now, it's pretty much that way for a lot of countries. I mean, no one's just got, fill out your name and your address and you're a citizen. There's always some hoops to go through in every country, but the United States, it's a little hard to navigate. I heard Canada's really hard to navigate too, but that'll keep a lot of people away. Especially what we got going on in this country right now, there's going to be policy changes left and right for the next few years, I guarantee. 210 people voted for immigration policies. Number 2, language barriers. While English is widely spoken in the US, Europeans may still face challenges with accents, dialects, and language nuances that differ from what they're accustomed to, which could create communication barriers and feelings of isolation. Now, this is a big thing. We have some pretty serious shifts with the way we speak from state to state. South is very different from what you got going on in California. You could come here from Germany and end up in a small town in Mississippi. They might actually look at someone from Mississippi and go, is this dude speaking English? What is going on here? Now, most Europeans do speak English. I shouldn't say most, but a higher rate than Americans speak other languages. So we do have a pretty serious language barrier for a lot of different people, and the dialects play a big part. I mean, I'm from California. I'm from a beach community, and some of the things I say on this channel, English-speaking people ask me what I'm talking about sometimes. But this one got more votes than I really thought it would. I mean, I didn't think this was much of a big deal, but it showed up at number 2 with 325 votes. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called The Sweet Life for Briggs. It's about travel and cruises and stuff like that. There's a link for that down below. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, crime and gun violence. Yes, this is the biggest one. While gun ownership is common in some European countries, the prevalence of firearms and high rates of gun violence in the US, along with relatively relaxed gun laws in some states, can be alarming to a lot of Europeans who are not accustomed to this type of culture. Now, I'm not taking a stance on either side. I own firearms. I was in the military. But we're talking about people from other countries coming to this country. And it is alarming to a lot of them, especially when they see the high rate of shootings we have and how often firearms are used in crimes. One guy said, in America, you go to get a pint and you may never see home again. I was like, that's kind of rough. Go to get a beer and someone's going to shoot you. I'm sure it happens, but it's not like an hourly occurrence here in the United States. But yeah, compared to a lot of other countries, we have a ton of gun violence and a lot of crimes. I mean, no place is immune from crimes. We just have ours on blast in the media and online and everything else like that. So it's really the perception that they have. How close it is to the reality of the situation, who knows? But we're talking about what they think. And they think the entire country is Southside Chicago, without really thick pizza. Gun violence got 443 votes. That's a lot. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.